Welcome back and thank you for joining us on the newspaper review on High Impact Television. Right now we are joined virtually by our guest in the person of Honorable ADELOSOYE Maxwell ADEMOLA. Thank you for joining us on the newspaper review this morning.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank
Good
you.
morning once again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's, go straight into the business of today. There have been different economic reforms since the current administration assumed office on the 29th of May 2023. And, according to the presidency and the federal government, these reforms are meant to, make the economic situation in Nigeria better, eventually. But from what we've seen so far, these reforms have actually caused a lot of strain and more hardship, considering the fact that they are even, currently the fuel price has gone up in some states across the country. In your perspective, how would you rate these reforms, and do you think that they would actually achieve the intended goal at the end of the day, seeing the hardship that Nigerians are currently facing?
Well, thank you for that question. Without any doubt, I believe that the reforms are good. The reforms are necessary at this point, and without absolute conviction, I think it will eventually be successful. So, are there been pain? Are there been strains? Of course. But what we should remember is that during campaigns, it's just that a lot of us were not focused on the issues. We all collectively agreed. I think all the major candidates agreed. Majority of Nigerians agreed that the fuel subsidy must go, and there must be a unified exchange rate. I mean, fuel subsidy must go, dollar subsidy must go. So I think we all agreed. So when we are agreeing to that, I don't know what people were expecting. I remember telling somebody sometimes in December that fuel will go as high as 500 naira. That every time we take a liter, the government pays 300 naira on a liter. At that point, it was like, no, it's not, but this is the reality. But is it harsh? It's extremely harsh on people. But do we have to do it? Absolutely, yes. And the president has already told us that we should not expect a smooth ride from the start. And he has also likened it up to a pain of child delivery. Pregnancy, term, then when you deliver the baby, then you can now smile. So the hardship is there, no doubt about that. Nobody can deny that. It's tough on every one of us. But the question is, what do we want to achieve? We want government to continue to subsidize fuel. Should government subsidize fuel to 15 naira per liter so we can buy fuel and continue to borrow so that people who come after us will not be able to will not have a country to live? So it's our choice. So as far as I'm concerned, it's necessary. But the hardship is there. But exactly. The policies are essential.
Okay.
It's a collective agreement that we must take away the subsidy. We must take away dollar subsidy, take away fuel subsidy, so we can move as a nation.
I agree.
It's not done. No way do use all your resources to be subsidizing fuel.
All right.
So that is my position on that.
So, like you rightly said, these policies, these reforms had to come up, right? And the hardship, just like you mentioned, is a lot. The hardship is there. So now, bearing in mind that as much as these reforms had to come into place and these decisions had to be made, don't you think that as much as the federal government is paying attention to how much money they need to save from subsidy and other things, they actually also need to pay attention to strategies and realistic ways to ease the pressure of Nigerians, because it's biting hard? Shouldn't we be also towing towards that direction and not just focusing on, okay, we need to take out this, we need to do this reform, we need to do, without actually considering that Nigerians are actually feeling so much heat from this?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But at the same time, we are taking away subsidy. We should not also introduce another form of subsidy. Subsidy is good. All over the world, government creates social responsibility to their people. They make their life better, social welfare. But another point we must also understand is that by removing subsidy, we don't create another monster. Initially, the idea of subsidy was to make life comfortable. But along the line, it was hijacked. So if you remove subsidy and divert the same resources into another form of subsidy, you have not solved any problem. However, we had the presidential address I think last week or thereabouts, where he rolled out some measures. State governors across the country are started making measures. In my state, for instance, in Ondo, the government has been stylishly making sure workers are receiving double salary because the outstanding leave bonuses are being paid. Pensioners are getting stipends. Transportation subsidy are being introduced. So government is trying using other means to ameliorate the sufferings of the people. So indirectly, they are still they are doing something in return. But what I'm saying that we must be extra careful. So we're handling this subsidy, this social intervention, so that we don't reintroduce subsidy. But what I think government needs to do to solve this problem is they need to take the solution. The solution should be local. The other day, the president announced loans and grants, to nano businesses and micro businesses. It's essential that those things start from the bottom, like to the local level, so that the actual people can benefit from it. If you do it again at the federal level, a few people will just hijack the whole system and it will be counterproductive.
All right, Honorable ADELOSOYE, let's look at the palliatives. There was a proposed 8,000 naira palliative, which the federal government cancelled, and it's just, I think, about 8 days now to the deadline.
4 days.
4 days to the deadline, and we've not heard anything about that palliative, which President Tinubu also said he got about $500 million for. Now, secondly, the federal government also said they've been able to save about 1 trillion naira from fuel subsidy removal, which the NLC also debunked that there was no such thing. I'd just like to get your reaction on those two questions.
Well, on the first question on the loan is a conditional cash transfer loan. And from what I understand, World Bank is releasing that money subject to us delivering 8,000 naira to 12 million poor people. So, and it seems that Nigerians are not interested in the idea of 8,000. So, government has changed the policies. So if you recall the speech of the president, he spoke about giving money to nano businesses, 50,000, micro businesses, 1 million or thereabout. The major businesses about 1 billion. So government has changed from that 8,000 naira policy, and to correct, that money is meant for that purpose. So if we are not giving 8,000 naira to 12 million households, the World Bank will not release the $500 million. So that's what the money is for. So that money is off the table. Since Nigerians were not put with the idea of 8,000 naira. So that is about that. So on the second question on
1 trillion naira
on 1 trillion naira savings,
yes.
I said earlier, it's true because it's obvious. Before now, government were struggling to pay salaries. Those states, people were getting percentage, but suddenly the same government is paying people double of their salary. I mean, they pay them they pay them leave bonus. So when you do that, that means that they're making extra money. And it's obvious. Nobody will tell you that there's no money in this state. So where is the extra money coming from if they are not saving extra money? So even NLC said that they've not saved any 1 trillion naira, NLC is not being honest. Or sorry, they're not saying the whole truth.
Right. So just refer back to what OLUMIDE said, because I don't think you got his first question, or maybe you've not really answered the first question correctly. Now, he mentioned that initially the federal government proposed 8,000 naira for households as palliative. After several criticisms, it was lambasted, it was criticized. The federal government, withdrew that plan and said to come up with another palliative strategy. Now, an 8-week deadline was implemented, and it's 4 days to that deadline, but they've not come up with any other palliative measure. Yet, the heat on Nigerians keep getting much. Don't you think that it is time for priority to be given to these measures? You mentioned the nano, you mentioned the micro, you mentioned the large scale. In all honesty, we don't even know the data or the yardstick that would be used in determining which businesses, are eligible for this. So eventually, so many people or so many Nigerians do not even have access to these plans or these economic reforms that the presidency is rolling out. Isn't it time for us to look at realistic measures and realistic palliative means to get across to Nigerians?
Well, thank you. I've answered the question. As far as that $500 million was meant for 8,000 naira to 12 million households. So if we are not giving 8,000 naira to 12 million households, World Bank is not giving us 500 million naira, $500 million. So that money is out of the equation. So since Nigerians say they don't want 8,000 naira, then that means there is no $500 million anywhere. So that World Bank is not releasing that money. They're not just giving us, they're not dashing us to spend as we like. Most of these loans are tied to a project. For instance, there was a time where there was much outcry about a loan from Brazil. If you look at the details of that loan, it's meant for agricultural purpose. So if you are not using the money for what it's meant for, you are not getting the money. So that's what the money is about. So the 8,000 naira, as left the table. So deadline or no deadline, nobody's talking about it. So people start assuming that they took $500 million and they are not spending it. No, there's no $500 million on the table if we are not giving 8,000 to 12 million poor households.
Yes.
Now, unrealistic palliatives, I said it earlier. These nano micro businesses for local government, they are laudable. These fertilizers to farmers, these transport, they are laudable. But the question is implementation. If government does all these things at local level, if local government is involved, you said how would Nigerians know? We don't know nano traders and micro traders in my community. But if somebody in Abuja solely appropriates who the nano farmers are, or who the nano consumer or nano businessmen are, or the micro, small, medium scale enterprises are, it will be less effective. Sometimes in 2020, when they were applying for COVID loan, I encouraged one of my guys to apply. He has a gas station, a small gas station. Today he has 2. He's staying in one, his wife is staying in one. He got only 300,000 naira. And he's going to establish another business. He has somebody there. So they are Nigerians. But the problem is the implementation does not get down. So if government continue to do things only from the federal, it will not be effective. But if the local authorities, from the federal to the state to the local government to the wards, as a matter of fact, to the units.
All right, Honorable Adelosoye. Let's quickly, I want to take this headline from The Punch, which says CBN clamps down on speculators, restrict diaspora remittances. Now, the acting CBN governor says they would restrict diaspora remittances. Now, diaspora remittances helps the economy because Nigerians abroad remitting back to the country helps to grow the country. So by restricting this, you would also restrict access to inflow of cash. Do you think this is a good move? Because this is one of the reforms that the acting CBN governor is proposing to the president.
Well, one of the downside of headlines is the details. With all due respect, I've not seen the news. I've not seen the details of restricting diaspora remittances. I don't think the CBN will directly restrict diaspora remittance. We know fully well that we make billions of dollars from remittance in diaspora.
Yes.
So I will have to go into details of that news to be sure that that is what they are proposing. But however, I know that people are speculating, people are holding cards, people are doing all sorts of manipulations with the dollar. And I need CBN to be strict because anytime there's an opportunity for Nigerians to want to take advantage, they will take advantage. It's just normal. So you make sure you prevent any opportunity for Nigerians to take advantage. But I don't think they will be strict. I don't think. Maybe they want to reform it. Maybe they want to readjust it. I will have to look into that niche properly because from my short life, I've learned that AI can be misleading in this country.
One last question. I've always wondered, they've always said that our economy is always dependent on the foreign exchange at the parallel market. Can you explain this in less than a minute? Why is it that the whole economy of Nigeria is dependent at the parallel market, is being dictated by what is going on outside the country? Why can't we dictate the power of the naira? Why can't we dictate the fuel price? Why is it dependent?
We are an import-dependent economy. And so we import virtually everything. If we don't boost production, the naira will not be valuable. So if we continue to import and import and import, if we continue to look for money to school abroad, we continue to look for money to travel abroad, there will always be pressure on the naira. Currency will gain value when the currency becomes valuable. So the problem is that so far we keep depending on dollar, so far we keep betting ourselves on dollars. So we keep stocking dollar to access our own wealth. We will not go anywhere as a country. So I think that is the problem. So we need to think Nigeria, go to Naira, and go Nigeria. So if we continue to look inwards, and I believe that's why people are clamoring for refineries to be fixed. Refineries are fixed, and more resources are not spent importing fuel. It's not as if the price will automatically or drastically reduce, but at least it will reduce the dependence on dollars. And once there's less dependence on dollar, never will pick up. So it's a simple thing. So let's think of measures we'll put in place to make sure our dependence on dollar is reduced.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Honorable ADELOSOYE Maxwell Ademola. It's been a delight speaking with you this morning. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do enjoy the rest of your day.